You're listening to Nightfall Noir, original thriller and horror stories for the sleepless, best experienced after 10 p.m. with headphones and the lights off. The rain started before midnight, not the kind that kisses your skin, but the kind that slaps concrete like it's got something to say. I was in my office, 3rd floor, no elevator, the kind of place where the wallpaper peels like dead skin and the radiator rattles like a dying man coughing up secrets. It had been 7 years since I last took a case. 7 years since blood soaked the floor of apartment 6B. I told myself I was out. But then, she walked in. Red umbrella, black heels, eyes like broken glass under moonlight. She smelled like trouble, and maybe a little too much perfume. She didn't sit, didn't even take off her coat. "Are you Miles Varon?" I nodded, lit a cigarette I didn't want. "My brother's missing," she said. "I think he's dead, but the cops won't touch it." I watched the rain slither down the window behind her. "Why come to me?" "Because you used to find dead things," she said. She wasn't wrong. I used to find them all right. The problem was, some of them found me back. "Tell me everything," I said. She reached into her purse, not for a gun, but for a photo. Him, her brother, tall, clean-cut, wearing a suit. But there was something off about the eyes, like he'd seen too much of something no one should see. "He said he was working night shifts at the docks," she whispered. "But he came home smelling like smoke and salt water." "Salt water? Like the sea?" I leaned back. The sea was 5 hours from this city. I hadn't taken a case in years. But the way the rain hit the window told me I was about to make a mistake. I always listened to the rain. And that night it didn't whisper. It screamed. I followed her out into the night. Umbrella was useless. Rain was sideways by then. Streets slick like oil, lamps buzzing like they wanted to die. Her name was Lena Mathers. Said her brother Clay had gone missing 2 nights ago. No ransom note, no police report filed. Just vanished. The last time she saw him, he said something strange. "Don't follow the smell." That's what stuck with her. I didn't ask what he meant. I didn't want to know. But I already smelled it. Something wrong in the air. Beneath the rain. Beneath the city. The kind of wrong that clings to your coat. "He was working at Dock 17, she said. "Graveyard shift. But no one at the harbor remembers him." We stood on the corner while water pooled around our shoes. "Clay left something behind," she said. She pulled a small notebook from her purse. Soaked. Pages warped. I flipped it open. Scrawls, scribbles, doodles of circles and... eyes? No names, no phone numbers. Just one line repeated over and over. "There's something under the city." I don't believe in ghosts. I believe in people. And people, they're capable of worse. "You have a car?" She shook her head. So I called a cab, told the guy to take us to Dock 17. He looked at me like I'd asked him to drive into a coffin. "That place is condemned," he muttered. I slid a 20 across the seat. Not for us. He drove without another word. 20 minutes later, we were standing at the edge of the dock. Nothing but rust, fog, and a locked gate. "You sure this is the place?" I asked. Lena nodded. Clay said something about the water whispering to him. I didn't like that. Water shouldn't talk. And when it does, you're not the one in control anymore. I picked the lock. We stepped through the gate, and the rain finally stopped. Just like that. No drizzle, no drip. Like we had entered somewhere we weren't supposed to. I should have turned back. But stories don't end when you want them to. They end when they're finished with you. Dock 17 was wrong. Not just because it was abandoned. Not because it stank like old rope and dead things. It felt like a memory someone tried to erase, but left the shadows behind. Lena walked ahead. I stayed close, watching the water ripple in patterns that didn't match the wind. We passed rusted cranes, shipping containers half collapsed from rot. Everything about this place said leave. And yet we were there, looking for something that didn't want to be found. "This way," she said. She didn't sound sure, but her feet moved like they remembered something her brain didn't. We stopped at a half-sunken building. Looked like an old office or control center. Door was open. Inside was dark, cold, and smelled like wet metal. SFX footsteps echo, distant drip, one seagull cries, then silence. I flashed my light around. Old desk, broken chair, wall peeling from years of salt. Then I saw it. A hole. Square, maybe 4 feet across, cut into the concrete floor. The air rising from it was cold and wrong. Like it came from a place that never saw light. "What the hell is this?" I whispered. Lena just stared. "He said they used to send things down there," she said. I crouched, shined my light in. Concrete tunnel, steep stairs, maybe 30 steps before it turned. No sounds came from it, no echoes, just silence that wrapped around your ears like a glove. "We going down?" I asked. She hesitated, then nodded. "If Clay went down there, I'm not leaving until I know why." The tunnel swallowed the light. Walls damp, smelled like seawater and rusted blood. After the turn, we found a door, steel, reinforced but open, like it wanted us in. We stepped through, and everything changed. No longer concrete, no longer city, just rock. Walls carved into smooth, wet stone, markings on them, not writing, not symbols, just grooves, circular, interlocking. Lena touched one. "It's warm," she whispered. I pulled her hand back. "Don't." But it was too late. The stone pulsed, once, like something beneath it had woken up. Then, we heard it. Not a scream, not a voice. A hum, deep, low, like the sound of the earth grinding its teeth. Lena was shaking. "That's what he heard," she said. "That's what drove him out here." I turned. The tunnel behind us, gone. Not like it collapsed, like it had never been there. I was no longer a detective. I was a mouse in a maze someone else built. And I think I just heard the one who built it. I don't remember when we stopped hearing our own footsteps. Maybe it was a trick of the tunnel. Maybe it was the stone, eating the sound before it could escape. But after a while, the silence didn't feel like silence. It felt like something listening. The corridor bent slowly, like a spiral. As if the architect wanted you to forget where you started. Every surface was slick, not wet like water, wet like breath. And there was a smell now. Salt, metal, and something faintly sweet. It reminded me of when I was a boy, when a dog got hit by a train outside my building. The scent that lingers after death gives up trying to hide. Lena was pale. Her eyes darted back and forth like she was seeing things I couldn't. "We should turn back," she whispered. I wanted to say yes, but I didn't, because part of me had to know. Not for her, not even for Clay. I had to know because I'd felt it too. That pull. The same one that brings you to the edge of a rooftop in the rain and makes you wonder what the fall feels like. We passed a wall covered in moss, but the moss was breathing, expanding, shrinking, in rhythm. I didn't tell her. Some things are better left in your head, where they can't infect someone else. Then we saw it. A door, circular, etched with more of those grooves, interlocking rings like ripples frozen in metal. Lena stepped forward, but I pulled her back. "Wait." She turned, lips trembling. "He was here, Miles. I feel it. He went through this. I looked at the grooves, ran my hand across them, warm, vibrating. You feel that? I asked. She nodded. It's like it's breathing. The door didn't open with a sound. It just wasn't closed anymore. One moment it was a wall, the next a void. We stepped through, and the world shifted. The ceiling arched above us, so high I couldn't see the top. Piles of crates and rusted tools littered the floor. In the center, a chair, bolted to the ground, empty, except for the restraints. I stepped toward it. The floor changed beneath my feet, smooth like polished bone. Lena stayed behind. He wrote about this place, she said, pulling a page from her pocket. The handwriting was frenzied, but clear enough. The thing in the chair is not a person. It just wears the shape. I looked at the chair again. Empty, but only recently. The restraints were open, but bent, like something big had pulled free. Then the hum came back, louder, deeper, not just heard, felt, in your teeth, in your ribs. We need to go, I said, but Lena was already staring at the wall opposite the chair, covered in photographs, hundreds, black and white, faces half lit, all of them staring. And in the middle, Clay, eyes wide, face slack. But something was off. His mouth wasn't open. His expression wasn't screaming. It was waiting. He's still here, Lena whispered. I wanted to say no. I wanted to grab her and run. But something in the photo, Clay's eyes, they moved. Just a twitch. But I saw it. Lena dropped the paper, and suddenly I wasn't sure if we'd come down here, or if something had called us. Lena, I said. But she didn't respond. She stepped toward the wall, toward Clay, toward whatever thing wore his shape. And for the first time since this whole thing started, I felt afraid. Not of death, but of what waits for us when we go looking for the dead. And they remember us. Lena moved like she was sleepwalking. Eyes locked on the wall of photographs, hand trailing along the bone-smooth floor. Footsteps soft, like she didn't want to wake something. But it was already awake. I could feel it. In the air, thick like fog but heavier. In the walls pulsing like veins. In the silence which somehow felt louder the longer we stayed. I took a step after her. The chamber didn't echo, but it watched. Eyes I couldn't see. Intent I couldn't name. Lena, I said softly. We need to go. Now. She didn't turn. Didn't speak. She was breathing faster, chest rising and falling in panic. But her legs kept moving toward the wall. Toward the picture of Clay. He's here, she whispered, voice cracking. I moved to grab her, but my legs suddenly felt wrong, like the air had thickened around me. Not paralyzed, just resisted, like walking through syrup made of static. Lena, look at me. She was close now, inches from the wall. Her hand rose, not to touch Clay's face, but the space beside it. And that's when I saw it. There was a picture there, one I hadn't seen before, one that hadn't been there seconds ago. Me, standing exactly where I was now. In the picture I wasn't moving. I was staring at the wall, dead center, and behind me in the photo. Something stood in the darkness. Not Lena, something taller, gaunt, twisted. I turned, fast, nothing there, just the chair, the floor, the black beyond. But the hum had changed. Now it rose and fell like breath, or laughter. Lena, we need to leave. She touched the wall, and it opened. Not like a door, like skin splitting. The stone peeled back, silent, wet, revealing another space beyond. I saw her silhouette enter it, and disappear. For a long second I just stood there, breathing, remembering what silence used to sound like. Then I stepped through. The room wasn't a room. It was a cavern, impossibly wide with a ceiling lost in shadow. The walls weren't walls. They moved, like tides, like lungs. And Lena stood in the center of it all, facing a shape I couldn't see. "It's him," she said. "It's Clay." I took one step forward, and the shape stepped into view. It was Clay, and it wasn't. His features were there, the suit, the hair, the jawline, but they didn't sit right, like someone had seen him once and tried to sculpt him from memory, using hands that didn't belong to a person. Too tall, too symmetrical. Eyes like glass marbles, perfect and wrong. And when it opened its mouth, it didn't speak. It echoed. "I remember you." The voice wasn't his. It was low, slow, a vibration more than a tone. "You were watching when the boy screamed. You watched him die." I felt my knees weaken, because I had, 7 years ago, apartment 6B. A kid barely 20 OD'd on something I hadn't seen before. He begged me for help, and I turned away, let it happen, because I was tired, because I didn't want the mess. "You remember," it said. The room flickered, like it blinked, and suddenly there were dozens of them, clay faces, all slightly different, all smiling. "We are made of the things you bury. The guilt, the rot, the rain knows." My voice came out like sand. "What do you want?" The clay thing tilted its head. "To help you remember." It stepped closer. I backed up. "Lena." But she didn't move. Her mouth was open, whispering, but not words. A hum, matching the walls, matching the thing. Then it touched her shoulder, and Lena crumpled. Not dead, not unconscious, just emptied, like the thing had unwritten her. I ran, not because I thought I could escape, but because I didn't know what else to do. And behind me, the hum followed. And the last thing I heard, before the tunnel curved back into black, was my own voice. "I remember." And the thing saying, "Good." I ran until I didn't know which direction hurt more. Every hallway looked the same. Same polished bone floor. Same curved stone walls with grooves like fingerprints burned into clay. No lights. But somehow I could still see. Not with my eyes. With memory. I stopped running, because the sound of my footsteps no longer belonged to me. They echoed wrong, like they were being followed, by themselves. I leaned against the wall to breathe, but the wall pulsed beneath my palm, slow and heavy, like I was resting my hand on the side of a sleeping animal. "This isn't real," I whispered. My voice didn't echo. It just fell, dropped into the black like a stone into a bottomless well. And then the rain came back. I don't know how. I don't know why. But I heard it, clear as day. The hiss and patter of city rain. Except I was 3 stories underground, surrounded by stone. No windows, no sky. But the rain was inside, in my ears, in my blood. I turned a corner I swear hadn't been there before, and found myself in my old office. Same desk, same peeling wallpaper, same cracked window overlooking the alley. The ashtray still had a lit cigarette, burning steady. And sitting in the chair across from mine was me. "Took you long enough," the other me said. His voice was rougher, slower, like gravel caught in honey. He wore the same trench coat, same stubble, same dead eyes. But I could tell he wasn't just a memory. He was the version of me that stayed behind. "You never wanted to solve this," he said. "You just wanted a reason to suffer out loud." I didn't respond, because he was right. I took Lena's case not to help her, but because I missed the pain, missed the way darkness fit like a second skin. "She's gone," I said. The other me shrugged. "She was never here. Not really. Just another ghost you dragged down with you." I clenched my fists. "What is this place?" He smiled, a slow, cruel smile. "You already know. It's everything you buried. The screams you ignored, the cases you dropped, the people you didn't save. This place isn't under the city, Miles. It's under you." Then the lights died, and I was alone. But not really. Something stood behind me. I could feel its breath, cold, stale, and sweet, like rotting flowers. I didn't turn, not at first. I waited for the hum to rise, for the memory to burn away. And when I turned, I saw her. Lena, but twisted. Her eyes were missing, hollow sockets leaking rainwater. Her mouth moved, but the sound that came out wasn't her voice. It was mine. "We all end up here, Miles. The city just gives us the map. But you chose the road." She stepped closer. I stepped back. "You're not real," I whispered. She stopped, tilted her head, and smiled. "Neither are you." Then the floor dropped. Not metaphorically, physically. Like the ground had opened its throat and swallowed me whole. I fell, fast. But the fall wasn't down. It was inward, through scenes, memories, regrets. Every choice I'd ever made folding in on itself, like paper soaked in gasoline. And I landed, in a room full of mirrors, all of them cracked. But everyone showed me a different version of myself. Miles with a badge, Miles with a bottle, Miles dead on a motel floor, and in the center of it all, the chair, the one from Dock 17. But this time it wasn't empty. It held Clay, still alive, still smiling. "You made it," he said. I stepped forward, slow. Everything hurt. Not physically, existentially. "Why?" I asked. "Why all this?" Clay leaned forward, chains rattling softly. "Because the rain remembers. And now, so do you." The lights above began to flicker, and somewhere in the dark, something laughed. The laugh didn't echo. It just was, like it had been there the whole time, hiding behind the silence, waiting for me to stop pretending I didn't hear it. I stood in that room of mirrors and ghosts, and I did what any good detective does. I tried to solve it. "What are you?" I asked. The clay thing tilted its head, and every mirror in the room turned black. No reflection, just void. "I am the sound between your footsteps," it said. "The wet breath behind your thoughts. The memory of rain in a place it never falls." It stood. The chains fell off like they were never locked. "You gave me shape," it said. "You, Miles Varon, fed me." And I understood. Not fully, not like a fact, but like a dream you realize is still happening after you wake up. This thing, this place, it wasn't under the city. The city was built around it. And it had always been hungry. The disappearances, the violence, the corruption no one touched. All of it. Nourishment. The pain we ignore feeds what we can't see. And I had fed it for years. Not with blood. With silence. With neglect. With every case I turned down. Every scream I didn't follow. "Why now?" I asked. "Why show me all this?" It stepped closer. Its face was still Clay's, but the eyes had stopped blinking. "Because you're ready. You've carried this city in your bones, let it rot in your marrow. And now you will replace me." I laughed. It was broken. Ugly. "You got the wrong guy. I don't want your throne." It smiled. Not with joy, with certainty. "You already took it the day you stopped caring." The chamber shifted. Mirrors cracked and curled inward. The floor stretched out like a mouth opening. And Lena stood at the edge. Or what was left of her. Her eyes were back, but they weren't hers. The color was wrong. Like old film stock faded by too many reruns. She looked at me. And for a second, something behind those eyes screamed. Then it was gone. "Join us," she said. "Let it rain, Miles." And the chair reappeared. Just one. Bolted to the floor, waiting. I stood between the thing that wore my sins and the echo of the woman I failed. If I sit in that chair, what happens? Clay's smile widened. You forget. And the city stays asleep. And if I walk away, the city wakes up. The rain grew louder. It was inside me now, dripping down the walls of my mind, flooding the cracks I thought I'd patched with cheap whiskey and quiet nights. "No one will believe me," I said. "They never do," Lena replied. "That's why it always wins." I looked at the chair. I looked at them. And I looked inside myself. Not for answers. For weight. The guilt. The lies. The nights I listened to the rain and did nothing. I'd carried it all this way. Maybe this was the only ending I ever deserved. I stepped toward the chair. "No," Clay whispered. "Not yet. You must choose." The chamber shifted again, and now I saw it. The second door, just beyond the mirrors, darker than the rest, wrapped in chains. "You can walk through that," Lena said. "Leave. Forget. Pretend none of this ever happened. Or sit and carry the rain." My hands trembled, not with fear, but with recognition. I wasn't afraid of the dark anymore. I was afraid of how much of it was already inside me. I took one final breath and said, "Tell me what happens if I sit." Clay leaned in, face inches from mine. "Then you remember for all of us." And I sat. I sat. The chair was colder than it looked. Not stone, not steel. Something else. Something older. It didn't resist. It welcomed me, like it had been carved with my shape in mind, like it had waited. The restraints didn't click shut. They just held, like hands from below. And then the room disappeared. I was nowhere. Not black, not light, just between. I saw the city, not the one on the surface, the one beneath it, made of whispers, made of memories, built from everything no one wanted to see. I saw alleys where children cried and no one came, apartments where men vanished and were never searched for, hallways stained with stories no one told. And I felt it, the weight of it, not as guilt, as currency. This thing, this place, it survived on neglect, on forgetfulness. And I was now the vault. I heard Lena laugh, then cry. I saw Clay open his eyes and speak in a voice not his own. I saw myself, every version, the coward, the hero, the drunk, the man who never got up from the floor in 6B. And I understood. The rain never came from above. It rose, from the cracks, from the basements, from the spaces we never swept clean. It was memory, leaking upward. And I was the drain. I don't know how long I sat. Minutes, hours, maybe years. Time didn't pass. It pooled, around me, in me. I stopped breathing. Not because I died, because I didn't need to. The chair breathed for me. It became me. And then, something shifted. A sound. Not the rain. Footsteps. Someone else. Walking the tunnels. Another case. Another seeker. Another pain waiting to be remembered. I wanted to scream, to warn them. But my mouth wasn't mine anymore. Only the rain could speak now. So I whispered, "Turn back. Don't follow the smell. Don't touch the grooves. Don't listen to the hum. Don't sit." But I know they won't hear me, just like I didn't. Because that's what the city does. It rains, and rains, and somewhere deep beneath it, I sit, and I remember, for everyone, forever.